99.9 Punk World Radio FM. We got California's own. We have Jordan Sweeney right here, live on the radio. Jordan, how you doing tonight all the way out there in sunny side California?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you're most certainly welcome. Thank you so much again for taking the time in your busy schedule. Like I told you, been a huge fan of your music for a long time, so it definitely is an honor just to be able to chat with California's finest tonight.
I appreciate that.
But I'm going to jump right into this because I do know you're a busy individual. So I'm going to take you right back to the beginning. While you were still in high school, you actually met an individual by the name of Richard, where you both went on to form the band called Can't Relate. Looking back at the beginning of your music career, can you tell us a bit more about your friendship with Richard? And of course, what ultimately led to you guys actually creating this band?
Right. Yeah, Richard. So we met, I want to say, freshman year in high school. And Richard was already in a band, a punk rock band. Punk rock was really big when we were in high school. I started high school in 98. So, I mean, think about all the albums that came out in 98, right? Through Being Cool, Saves the Day. I mean, so many great albums. But we were really into skate punk back then. And Richard, I had a drum set already, and Richard was a really good guitar player already, even as a freshman. And we met, and the rest is history, right? We just started writing music together, and we started a band called Can't Relate, which shortly became Green Room with a different singer. And then Green Room kind of put us on the punk rock market where a lot of people started noticing what we were doing. And man, I look back at some of that stuff. I can't play that stuff anymore. That was fast punk rock, man. Drummer. So I have a drum set at home, and I'm trying to play that stuff now, and it's just, can't keep up.
It definitely shows that when we were younger, we had a lot more energy, man. There's some things that I used to be able to do when I was younger, and I can't even do anymore, man. It comes with the age, unfortunately.
Right.
So all you young kids out there, if you're listening to this, if you have a passion, do it now because you won't be able to do it when you get older.
Right. Right.
But also, speaking of actually being a drummer as well, you were actually a drummer for the Southern California band called Skywalker that unfortunately went on a hiatus in 2007. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about your time with Skywalker.
So Skywalker was some of the best time of my life, honestly. We signed a little mini deal with an indie label called Midnight Records. I don't even think they're a thing anymore, but we put out our self-titled album in 2005, and we toured all throughout, California and stuff. But we got a pretty big following. Pop punk. We had some skate punk stuff in there. Our song Vampire, I don't know if you heard that song, but
totally killer song.
Yeah, some good stuff on there. I miss it. I miss being up there on stage. I miss doing that stuff. But yeah, that's Richard and I as well. And then we had the same bass player, and then we recruited Yul as our. Yul's not like a reggae singer. He sings for reggae. Yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, what ultimately led to Skywalker's hiatus in 2007? Because like you mentioned, you guys had so many amazing opportunities. You guys were touring up and down California. What ultimately led to you guys actually parting ways?
Well, I got sick. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and it was too hard to tour, and it was too hard to travel. I don't know if you know what Crohn's disease is, but it's pretty.
I think it affects your intestines as well.
Right. So I had that, and then I met my now wife. I think in 2007 I was 22 at the time, 21 at the time. I think I was younger, 20. And it was becoming too difficult to do all that. And I had it pretty severe in the beginning. So I stepped down from the band, and, I was one of the primary songwriters. And I think the band just I think they tried to do it without me with a different drummer. But yeah, I think we just called it quits after that. But in 2020, we've kind of reconvened, and we've been putting out some old stuff, but remixed and mastered by the incredible Scott Sellers, the old guitar player for Rufio and songwriter. So we put out some new music with Skywalker, and it's been nice getting the band back together again. And you could record music now from, Richard lives all the way in San Diego. I live in Ventura County, and we're sending stems back and forth, making music from all around the globe. It's pretty cool.
And as a Skywalker fan, it's definitely coolest to hear that you guys are still, kind of actually not kind of, are getting back together and creating new music. Is there an anticipated release date actually
Yeah.
on these new tracks?
So we've released, I want to say every one of the songs that were on our self-titled album from '05. We released all of them but two as singles, including two new songs, This Mystery and Eagle's Claw. We re-released all those, and the plan is to put that out as on a record, on an album sometime next year. We're just finishing it up. We all have busy schedules. We all have kids and life and all that, but that's the plan.
And March 27th, 2007, you actually released your solo debut 11-track album titled Sometimes Sky. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this solo project of yours. And of course, is it actually still out there to be streamed or purchased 18 years later today?
Right. Yeah, good point. So my solo music really started as a side project from Skywalker because I was writing music that was personal to me, and I didn't feel it was right to release it as Skywalker music. And so I started this little side project thing, writing songs primarily dedicated to people who suffer from Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, which is what I had at the time. And that album is still, yeah, you could stream it on any platform. I actually have in my garage like 700 CDs left. So if anyone wants any, I'll give them away for free. Just tell me where to send them to. And then I made a follow-up album in '08, Road to Recovery. It was kind of like, Sometimes Sky was more about, hey, lifestyle change, I'm suffering, I'm trying to figure out how life is with this new disease. Road to Recovery came out a year later, was more of, okay, acceptance. I accept this disease. Moving forward, what's my road going to be like? So those two albums are actually, they're kind of hard to listen to now because they're so emotional, and I was in so much physical and mental pain back then. But yeah, it's going back and listening to it, it's hard to listen to.
And that first album as well actually caught the attention of the Crohn's Federation, Foundation. I was wondering if you tell us a bit more about that and what was it like just working alongside, like a foundation that really tries to fundraise and do a lot of amazing things for people suffering from this disease.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. That was really cool. So I put out some cheesy music videos on two of the tracks. One was the Rain song, one was Is This Over Now from the Sometimes Sky album. And it caught the attention of the Crohn's and Colitis Federation. And they wanted to start a partnership. And they actually flew, my wife and I, we toured the whole nation. And we went to Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and then we went to Nashville, we went to Texas, LA, Seattle, as part of a tour for the Crohn's and Colitis Take Steps program, where it was like a rally where they fundraise, and we actually performed. That was cool. I performed my music and gave out my CDs and talked about awareness of the disease. That was a cool little moment in time.
And also during your career, speaking of performing, you had the opportunity to share the stage with so many legendary bands, with one of them actually being Yellow Card. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a bit more about this opportunity, and of course, what was it like just being able to share the stage with such an iconic band just like Yellow Card?
Yeah, I remember we played at Ventura Theater. We were the opening band, and check out this lineup. So this was back when we were Green Room. So Green Room was the opening band, and then Inspection 12 played second. Yellow Card played third, and Craig's brother was actually the headliner. This is how amazing that show was to open up for three. Craig's brother is probably my favorite band growing up. I really related to his Ted and Adam and all those guys' lyrics. So that was pretty cool to do that. And the funny thing is, Yellow Card, we actually were in the backstage, and my ex-girlfriend at the time hooked up with the drummer for Yellow Card, JP. So it was kind of funny. Yeah, I remember that vividly. It was pretty funny.
Talk about a full circle moment.
Right. Yeah, now Yellow Card, they're crazy big now. Their new album, they have Travis Barker playing drums on their new album. Like to go from that back, old Lobster record days where they're sharing the stage with Little Old Green Room, and now they have Travis Barker as their drummer and producer. It's pretty cool.
Have you checked out their new song "Better Days" yet? It's actually pretty good.
I love it. It's catchy. It's clean. The drums are phenomenal.
Even the music video, man, it takes you back to the Blockbuster days.
Oh, I didn't see the music video. I gotta watch that.
And also, as well, in 2019, you actually inked a deal with independent record label called Recovery Records, where you actually released, your most recent album that we're going to get into in a few moments, and the album before that. But I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a bit more about how you got discovered by Recovery Records, and of course, what is it like just working alongside them for your past two albums?
Yeah, so Recovery Records is actually it's a label that I started. So it was an idea, like recovery being like, recovering from this disease and all that. I got the idea back in 2010 of starting a label, and I actually hired a few employees, and we were going to make it a big deal. But then my wife was pregnant, and we were starting a family and stuff like that, and so we ended up just putting that on hold. And so it's really just my producing company. I have a studio in my backyard, and the plan was to possibly sign some bands and get them to record and have me just kind of take care of the costs and help promote. But it ended up not really working out just because, I started a family and took a little hiatus from the music thing.
But now that you're back and doing music and whatnot, is Recovery Records still something that you actually want to do full fledged, like sign bands and whatnot, or is that just something you want to keep for yourself now?
Yeah, I don't know yet. I mean, maybe eventually, but I'm so busy. I have I don't know if you know, I have 8 children and my 9th's on the way. So,
I did not know that, but that definitely keeps you busy.
I'm a busy dad, and this music thing is a blessing to be able to do all this. I was diagnosed with kidney cancer back in 2022, and so it's just with all these obstacles come inspiration for music, and I was able to put out 3 albums since 2018. The 2018 album Journey to Me is really themed off of coming back to the world of music. With punk rock, and I played every instrument on that album, which is really fun. And then Disarray came out in 2022. That album was produced by Scott Sellers of Rufio and mixed and mastered by his new company, which is pretty amazing. I love that album so much. That album came out, I wrote most of those songs during COVID while I was home, and some good songs on there, some emotional stuff, but also some poppy and some faster stuff too. I did a song on there with Adam Nye of Too Bad Eugene, which was really cool. He's been a childhood idol, and to be able to do a song with him was pretty neat.
Did you actually fly him out, and did you guys work to get on the song together in the studio, or was this just something that happened over the internet? Because I do know the internet days, like nowadays, you can be in one end of the world and the other, and still make an unbelievably amazing song.
Right. So have you heard that song "Insane" by?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, check it out. It's a great song if you haven't heard it. So how we did that is I reached out to Adam. I said, "Listen, man, I wrote the song. It's got 2 parts. It's like a duet. And you were one of my idols back in the day, man. I reached out to him through Instagram. I said it'd be cool if you could sing the other part." And he just wrote back, "I'd be honored." So how it works nowadays, man, like I told you with Richard, there's you could just send stems back to each other. So I sent him over the take with me singing his parts, and I sent him over the lyrics, and he recorded his part at his studio at his home, and he sent his stems back to me, and we mixed them up. It came out pretty cool. So I actually never met him physically.
And January 3rd, 2025, your most recent album titled "The Man Behind the Curtain" dropped. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us the story and inspiration behind this album, and of course, where can we snag ourselves a copy of it if we haven't already done so?
Yeah, good question. So "The Man Behind the Curtain" came, like I said, I had kidney cancer in 2022, and this album was just inspired from that. I mean, that cancer changed my life spiritually, mentally, and physically, really. And all these songs are just kind of a tribute to recovering from cancer and becoming closer to my faith and being, it's a different sound. It still has some punk rock vibes. There's a song I did on there with Scott Sellers, actually, track 8 or track 9, "Stay in My Lane," where he actually did a guitar solo that's so bitchin'. I don't know if you've heard that song. It's one of my favorites on the album. But so it has my punk rock roots, but it also has some, a different alternative vibe that I'm very proud of. You could get that. I don't have that on a record yet or a CD, but you could stream it anywhere.
And Jordan, I do know obviously you're doing the Skywalker stuff, you're doing your solo stuff. You're busy being a dad and whatnot. But what is next for yourself? Like, is there anything we happen to miss during this evening's interview that you still want to touch on, talk about, or promote? Any more music? Any more shows you currently got going on right now?
And I think the Skywalker stuff. Look out for that. Especially the old Skywalker fans out there. We're going to put out this album, and then Richard and I were trying to figure out a way to start writing music again. That's something that we both are passionate about. And then, check out my new album, The Man Behind the Curtain. I haven't really promoted it too much, but I think it's some of the best stuff that I've ever written. I think I personally listen to that album more than any album I've ever listened to. I think it brings back a lot of emotions, and I'm very proud of it, really. I'm actually working right now with somebody to put out a music video for my song Daybreak. It's a guy, he worked for Fat Records for a while, and he did Strung Out's new music video. And I actually coach his kid in baseball. I found it was a small world. I found out he was a music video director, and he's done a lot of bands for Fat Records. And so he's going to help me do a music video for Daybreak. So look out for that. I appreciate that.
And Jordan, before we part ways tonight, because I know you got to get back to work, so I'm not going to keep you very much longer. But one last question I got for the fans all around the world that might just be discovering yourself, Jordan, here tonight. How do we go about following you across all social media platforms? That way we can check out the older music, the new music, and the music that is yet to come.
Yeah, good point. So we have right now I have a website, jordansweeneymusic.com, for my personal stuff. But for Skywalker, we have a Instagram handle, Skywalker Music. I think it's Skywalker Music. I could post that in my link in my Instagram that you could take a look at that. But we haven't really been posting much. But Richard's he's just waiting for me to finish some vocals for one of our songs, and then we're gonna put out that album.
And I got to say, Jordan, first and foremost, thank you so much for giving not only myself, but the radio station listeners a bit of your time here tonight. It was such an honor to speak with you. I'm super stoked and excited to hear the new Skywalker music when it does get released. But for now, man, have yourself a phenomenal rest of your shift. And thank you so much for giving my radio station your one of your last breaks from work. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Hey, DJ, thank you so much. I really appreciate you reaching out, and rock on. I'll have to
man,
your other stuff.
I appreciate that, man. When I notice the Skywalker stuff comes out as well, I'll reach back out and see what we can do about getting you guys on the radio station again. If you're up for it, that is.
Yeah, it'd be cool. We'll do that.
Sounds good. Sounds like a plan, Jordan. We'll definitely talk soon, and have yourself a phenomenal night.
You too, brother. Take care.